when you're starting with dive rolls, I do them small. I want your dive roll small. I don't want you to go big yet. Show me good small ones, and then we're going to gradually go up higher and higher. Okay? Even if you can go this high, I don't want to see it yet. If I haven't seen that yet, small. I want a little dive roll. So you're going to, and even if you do it again, just kind of out of one step. I don't know if you've seen, a lot of times I'll use this station over here as a dive roll station too. When I'm in this rotation, this mat right here, I'll have them one step punch dive roll over and over and over again. Right? I'm not going to get hurt doing that because it's a small little thing. And then if it's a better class or level 2, I'll take one like the yellow trapezoid and put it in front and say, okay, dive roll over the trapezoid. But again, it's there. If they come up short.
You put a stratum board in front of the mat on that side?
No board.
Oh, no board.
Just off the mat.
Okay.
Again, I just want that arm up, kind of take off, throw, dive roll. Hundreds and hundreds of times. Because knowing that repetition and getting them doing that enough, it's going to improve their forward rolls on floor. It's going to make them safer in everything. And that's the main thing is like, I want them getting that forward rotation and that rollout thousands and thousands of times. And so I want to introduce it wherever I can. And sometimes, you got to do 50 of them today, right? And I'll give them targets. You're going to do at least 50 dive rolls, and then you can move on to the next thing. But you got to do 50 of them, okay? Because I just need that volume and repetition. So we're going to be looking for just a couple steps or run up or whatever here, and then now for the dive roll, we're going to throw away the arm swing for a little while. Okay? I don't want a front lift on their dive roll yet. That comes later because if they do a front lift and they don't really know how to drive their heels, they will land on their face. Because this will stall their rotation, and they're going to go like this. They're going to go straight up. And they're going to jackknife to try to roll it around. And they're going to go up like this and straight down with their hands and their head and their feet at the same time and land like that. Okay? So for dive rolls, I want the arms up before they hit the board. The overhand throw method, you guys know that for front tucks, right? So that's what we're looking for once we go to dive rolls is step, hurdle, arms up, roll out. I want them trying to roll out and stand up because that's going to force them to think about their roll. Because a lot of times with dive rolls, you just get step. Yay, I did it, right? Because they're not at all thinking about how to control that roll. They're just, once they're past their head, they're like, I'm done. So they just relax and bam, into the mat. But that's not what we're trying to get out anyway. We're trying to roll out to your feet every time. That's going to also force them to engage. So we're conditioning it while we're doing this because they have to actually contract their stomach while they're rolling. And their rolls are going to get better. They're not going to get floppy, no ragdoll. Okay? Once they are doing that consistently, then I want to start getting more height. And then I want to start talking about heel drive. So the rotation for a dive roll is not driven by throwing my head and chest forward. It's driven by kicking my heels up behind me. Okay? Because you're going to actually lift your chest and your heels at the same time to generate that height and rotation. And that's where we get the nice big height, flat dive roll and rolling out. When you first get some kids with some power and you tell them heel drive, they're going to flip over and land flat on their back. So it's fun. Hilarious. Bam! Great! Now we got to start controlling that. But that's what you're going to see, and they're going to be like, oh, because they weren't ready for that. And heel drive, once they understand heel drive, that's going to help their front tucks. It's going to lead to all kinds of different things. It all comes from the step. Okay? So we're now going to look at trying to stretch it out. So that's kind of the next thing. Once they're doing repetitions on this, then we try to start getting them to stretch it out, start standing it up a little bit more. And this is where you get, when you encourage them to stand up more, this is where we start getting into the wrist plane, because now it's coming up and over and rolling out. And if they don't get enough rotation, that's where we get in trouble. But that's where it's got to go. We've got to start standing it up more, back to the board drill, and then heel drive. I want to see a good heel drive before I encourage an arm swing. Because if you do arm swing without the heel drive, you don't rotate. Okay? So we're going to do an overhead throw, step, hurdle. Okay? So arms are up. You saw that way, right? The heels are leading the skill. the dive rolls, because if it's driven from here, they're never going to knuckleball it because they're fully open and rotating. And if they've done enough rolls, they're going to be able to use that to come out safely and that kind of thing. But so we got to get
Knuckleballs when you top with no rotation.
exactly, and they take off like this and they go, and then yeah, there's nothing you can do once you're in that position, right? You're hosed, because if I'm already tucked and I don't have enough to rotate past my head, there's nothing more you can do except oh crap and crash.
I've been going
Right?
since
And
17.
so
I haven't had a break.
if your heels are leading, you'll never be in a knuckleball situation. So that's where we want to get consistent work on heel drive. Once they're taking off and once they're getting decent height there, then we reintroduce the arm swing to the dive roll. Which hopefully we've been drilling the arm swing a lot for tuck jumps and straddle jumps and pike jumps. So now it's just application and putting the two things together. Okay?
The arm swing helps with the heel drive. I mean, you can't really do this kind of throw over the top of your head for a heel drive.
You can, it's just probably going to flip you over.
Yeah.
It's hard to stall the rotation if you do overhead and
The
heel
arm
drive.
swing has to come in counter to the
Exactly.
to kind of start it.
Right.
That's a real classic diving move too, is the heel drive from the front dive straight.
Right. Yeah, because that's where all your rotation comes from. And so then we're looking for that last step, aggressive arm swing. Here, so all right. Strong heel drive, and you see that way. Once I'm in the air, now I can control my rotation by opening or closing, depending on how I take off. Because once I'm in the air, then all I have is my length of my body to control how I'm going to roll out. But once you get that arm swing in the heel drive, it's pretty natural to start to develop a feel of where that starts to happen. And then really, all of vault, at least the beginner levels, is that. That last step, the takeoff for a dive roll and the takeoff for vault, same thing. Exactly the same thing. If we get that early on. So what I'll also do when kids are getting some height, and kids love this drill. I'll put the board here. I will sit here. Say, okay, dive roll over me. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, dive roll over me. And what you do is they run at you, and as they punch, you just put your hands on their hips and go like that. And they'll go and they roll out. And that way, if they do something weird, you can slow them down enough so that they don't get hurt on that side. And if they do it really well, you just kind of brush them as they go over. And you'll start to get the kids where you just kind of go, and you just touch them as they're going by. But that way, if you're constantly on their hips, you're not going to get a kid in your face. And they love it. You know, they love the fact that they did a dive roll over their coach. And it forces them to stand up. They've got this object in their way, which is weird psychologically at first, but once they kind of get over that, it really helps. And it, it's kind of a fun thing to do, and you sit there, and guess what? You get to do like 30 sit-ups in a day too, doing that. But, and then what you try to get them to do is think about doing the whole Superman on your hands in the middle of the dive roll. And you get them doing that, and that way we're really enforcing that body tension. And sometimes you can stop them. You'll actually go up and stop them. And if they fall apart, that's a teaching point. We can say you weren't tight enough. Whether I stop you or not, you should be in that position. And either you stop and you're hanging out in that nice stretched position, or we go over. But it should make no difference, and they don't even have to know you're going to change what's going on. And, so it's a good teaching point to worry body tensioning and everything else, because they should be tight in the air anyway. Okay? Clear? Questions? Okay.
This is all really familiar.
Yeah, the diving stuff.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of gymnastics does not translate to diving. But the hurdle and the heel drive.
Yeah. The only difference between a diving board and a springboard is this is way faster.
Yeah. The hurdle's a lot snappier. Diving, it's much more
Up and down. This arm is low and long.
Go!
Yeah.
But it's the same step formation. It's the same circles.
That's the other key point.
Yeah, we just jump. In gymnastics, you jump forward.
Yeah. The hurdle should be low and long. I never want to see giant hurdles. If their feet leave the ground more than about this, they're jumping way too high. Okay? The hurdle is basically to get your feet from behind you to in front of you. And that's it. Your center of mass does not rise at all during the hurdle. If it does, you're compromising your takeoff, because then you have to reverse vertical. We don't want to reverse vertical. We want to take our horizontal speed and convert that into height. So I don't want my center of mass bobbing up and down at all. I just want to shift my feet in front of me real quick and stand up. Okay? All right?
Good.
Good.